Right. Okay, we're going to at the Amazon. I was going to say Brazil. We're going to the Amazon. Okay, we are not going into the Brazilian Amazon. I went into the Ecuadorian Amazon. Now, let me explain for those of you that do not know. The Amazon, while it is best known as being in Brazil, that is because the largest part of the Amazon is in Brazil. But the Amazon in reality is in Ecuador, it's in Peru, it's in Bolivia, it's in Suriname, it's in Guyana, and it's in Venezuela. So I went into the Ecuadorian Amazon. We flew into Quito, and then we flew from Quito to, it was called, I think, Puerto Francisco Orellana. And it was about a 20 or 30 minute flight. It wasn't long. And then, mind you now, I did not do a luxurious trip to the Amazon. I did a little bit of, not totally roughing it, but, you know, wasn't no air conditioning. I'll explain as I go on. Anyway, so we get there and we land, and then we get on a school bus. So here's, you know, part one, school bus, unair conditioned, and we drive bumpy roads for about, I want to say, somewhere around 45 minutes until we get to the river. Then we get on covered canoes, and we are now about to embark on a 5-hour float down the river. It wasn't floating, actually. There were motors down the river. 5 hours. I remember the flight out of Quito is very, very early, so that you're floating on the river by like 8, 9 a.m. Okay, and I remember the funny thing is that floating next to us down the river is our luggage in these great big opened canoes, and you're like, and they're like sort of, you know, assembled there very precariously, and you're like, oh my God, if one suitcase goes, I mean, that's it. Nobody's diving in after it. So we were taking pictures and stuff of the canoe with our luggage. I have some great photos of that. And I remember the naturalist guides, they kept pointing out birds to us. This is this kind of bird, and this is this kind of bird. And I remember thinking, like, could we really, like, move on from the birds and just get to where we're going? And let me tell you, if you could have seen me when I went into the Amazon and when I floated out, what a difference a few days made in the Amazon, because I came to love and respect birds like I never thought I would in my life. You see birds in a whole new light when you really see them in their habitat, in their natural habitat. Okay, so now we arrive at the flotel. I was staying at a flotel. What is a flotel? The flotel is a floating hotel. It's sort of like a riverboat. Like sort of like a riverboat cruise. You know, it's, again, this was bunk beds, you know, bathrooms, showers. You took a shower, the whole bathroom got wet. It was nothing luxurious, but it was really nice, and it gave me a really great, I think, feel. You know, I felt like I was in the Amazon. It wasn't like I was, the only place on the boat I remember that was air conditioned was the dining room when we had dinner, when we had food, when we had meals. Okay, so I want to tell you my first experience was out actually on a not a hike but a walk, because you're not really hiking in the Amazon because it's not uphill at all, it's all flat. So my first experience, it was really fun. You know, you're walking through it. The canopy is you know, large. It's sort of, the trees are covering the sun. I went to the Amazon in April, so that it was the end of their dry season, and the rainy season hadn't really begun yet. So we were sort of there, I thought, at a good time. We didn't really need rain boots or anything. They had them for us, but we didn't need them. Okay, so we're walking, and you know, people are talking, people are looking at things, people are. I remember I put my hand down. There was like sort of a rail, a wooden rail at one point. We were crossing some kind of a bridge, and I put my hand down, and before I knew it, I had a bunch of ants like had joined my hand. I was like, oh, well, that's not good. You have to brush those off. And then it was really neat because we're walking, and no one is screaming or shouting or anything, but people are talking, and all of a sudden our guide is like, and he was saying, you know, be quiet, look up. And we were like, Oh my God, there were all these monkeys just going from one tree to the other tree. And I mean, you would have never realized that these monkeys were just jumping around right over your head. It was so incredible. And he proceeded to tell us, little bits and pieces about the forest, about the trees, about we had a shaman with us who talked about the medicinal properties of things, and it was really interesting. And I remember there were a lot of holes that apparently they were snake holes. I have to tell you, when I was in the Amazon, I did not see not one snake. Of course, my mother years later, being in the Central Park Zoo at a rainforest exhibit, said to me, we're looking behind this glass and it's supposed to be this kind of a snake. And my mother, looks and she says, "Do you see the snake, Deb?" And I'm like, "No." And she's like, "Deb, look." And I'm like, "No." And she goes, "Okay, follow the tree." And I'm looking. I'm like, oh my God, there's the snake. And she goes, "Deb, when you were in the Amazon, there were tons of snakes all around you. You never saw them." I'm like, "Thank God. I really didn't want to see one." Okay, we will continue on with more of the Amazon and the amazing things that I did see next. See you soon.